The senator from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the United States Senate is engaged in the first step of a debate that's important to virtually every American. What we want to do is to find good ways to reform and replace Obamacare, and then repeal the provisions of it that have damaged so many Americans. Sometimes before we start talking about a big subject, it helps to ask the question, exactly what are we talking about? So very quickly, where do Americans get our health care insurance? Might be interesting to know 91% of us have some sort of health insurance, 290 million. And we get it from four places, basically. One is Medicare, 18% of us. Now, this is not a bill to change Medicare. That's a discussion for another day. So we're talking about these three areas. One is employers, on the job. 61% of us get our insurance on the job. 178 million people. Medicaid, managed by states, paid for by the federal and state governments. 22% of the American people there get their insurance. And then the individual market, people who buy it on their own. That includes the exchanges that we hear so much about. Here's where all the news is. Here's where the turmoil is. That's just 6% of everyone who is insured, although that's 18 million Americans. This is information from the census. Now, who's not insured? That's interesting, too. There are 27 million people, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, who aren't insured, but 17 million of those are eligible for some help to get insurance and just haven't taken it. Now, of those who are not eligible for any help, 11 million, nearly half of them are illegally here, 5 million. And of the rest, some make too much money to be eligible for assistance, and some drop through the Medicaid cracks. So it's fair to say that 91% of us are insured, one way or the other, and that of the 27 million, the 9% who are not insured, 17 million of those are eligible for some sort of assistance. Now, how should we approach this? Following the presidential election, President-elect Donald Trump said on 60 Minutes that replacement and repeal of Obamacare would be done, quote, simultaneously. To me, that means at the same time. And then just today, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said that repeal and replacement of Obamacare would be done concurrently. To me, simultaneously and concurrently mean Obamacare should finally be repealed only when there are concrete practical steps, reforms in place that give Americans access to truly affordable health care. Let me say that again. Obamacare should be repealed, finally, only when there are concrete, practical reforms in place that give every American access to truly affordable health care. The American people deserve health care reform that's done in the right way for the right reasons and in the right amount of time. It's not about developing a quick fix. It's about working toward a long-term recovery that works for everyone. Now, here's one way to think about what simultaneously or concurrently might mean. I would ask you to think about Obamacare as if it were a local bridge in, say, South Dakota that is collapsing, because that's just what's happening with Obamacare. According to the Tennessee Insurance Commissioner, the Obamacare insurance market in our state is, quote, very near collapse, unquote. Across the country, premiums and copays are up. Employers have cut jobs to afford Obamacare costs. Medicaid mandates are consuming state budgets. In 1/3 of America's counties, citizens with federal subsidies have only a single choice of a company to buy insurance on an Obamacare exchange. Without quick action next year, these Americans may have zero choices. Their subsidies may be worth about as much as a bus ticket in a town where no buses run. Now, if your local bridge in South Dakota or Wyoming or Tennessee were very near collapse, what would you do? Well, I think the first thing you do is to send in a rescue crew to repair it temporarily so no one else is hurt. And then you'd start building a better bridge, or more accurately, many bridges, as states develop their own plans for providing truly affordable health care to replace the old bridge. Finally, when the new bridges are finished, you'd close the old bridge. That's how we propose to proceed. To rescue those trapped in a failing system, that's Obamacare, to replace that system with a functional market or markets, and then repeal Obamacare for good. First, we'll offer a rescue plan so that the 11 million Americans who buy insurance now on the exchanges can continue to do so while we build a better set of concrete, practical alternatives. Second, we'll build the better systems, and note I say systems, not one system. If anyone's expecting Senator McConnell to roll a wheelbarrow into the Senate floor with a great big comprehensive Republican health care plan, they're going to be waiting a long time because we don't believe in that. We don't want to replace a failed Obamacare federal system with another failed federal system. We want to create many systems across this country, step by step, to give Americans more choices of insurance that cost less. And we'll do this by moving more health care decisions out of Washington and into the hands of states and patients, and by reducing harmful taxes. And we'll do it carefully, step by step, so that it's effective. Finally, we'll repeal what remains of the law that did all this damage and created all this risk. That's what we will do. Now, here's what we will not do. This is not a bill for Medicare reform. That'll be handled separately. Second, you won't be disqualified from getting insurance if you have a pre-existing health condition, and if you're under the age of 26, you'll still be able to be covered under your parents' plan. That's what, in my opinion, we mean by repeal and replace simultaneously, as the President-elect said, or concurrently, as Speaker Ryan said. Here are 3 steps we will take beginning immediately. Number 1, the rescue plan. 6% of Americans with insurance, that's this group, buy their insurance in the individual market, about 2/3 of those on the Obamacare exchanges. This is where today's turmoil is. This is where the copays are up, the premiums are up, where insurance companies are pulling out of the markets. While we build replacements, we want the 11 million Americans who now buy insurance on the exchanges to be able to continue to buy private insurance. This will require Congress and the President to take action before March the 1st, which is when insurance companies begin to decide whether they will offer insurance in these markets during 2018. In general, the goal is to get as close as possible to allowing any state-approved plan to count as health insurance under Obamacare rules while we are transitioning to a new system. Among the actions that will help are to allow individuals to use their Obamacare subsidies to purchase state-approved insurance outside the Obamacare exchanges, to adjust Obamacare's special enrollment periods, approve the temporary continuation of cost-sharing subsidies for deductibles and copays, allow states more flexibility to determine so-called essential health benefits, age rating rules, and small group restrictions, expand health savings accounts, eventually provide tax credits to help lower-income Americans buy insurance, and repeal the individual mandate when new insurance market rules are in place. When the new administration rewrites the guidance on Obamacare Section 1332 state innovation waivers to allow for more state flexibility, states will have the authority to further innovate to build more modern health systems. Now, second, on employer insurance. Remember, that's where 61% of us get our insurance. On the job, we will repair the damage Obamacare has done so that employers can offer employees more personalized, patient-centered care. We'll do that by repealing Obamacare's employer mandate penalty. We will allow states to determine the so-called essential health benefits and thereby lower costs for small businesses. We'll repeal Obamacare's restrictions on grandfathered health plans, on wellness benefits, on small group plans, and provide more flexibility for small businesses so they can work together to buy insurance, a proposal the senator from Wyoming has fought for years. This will mean more state authority, more choices, and lower costs for the 178 million Americans who obtain insurance on the job. And then third, Medicaid. 22% of all Americans are covered by Medicaid. All insured Americans are covered by Medicaid. We will give states more flexibility to offer those 62 million citizens more options by making federal Medicaid waivers more flexible. So, Mr. President, in summary, we will first send in a rescue crew to repair temporarily a collapsing healthcare market so no one else is hurt. Second, step by step, we will build a better system, actually better systems, that give Americans access to truly affordable health care. We'll do this by moving health care decisions out of Washington, D.C. and back to states and patients. And finally, when our reforms become concrete, practical alternatives, we will repeal the remaining parts of Obamacare in order to repair the damage it has caused in Americans. This, Mr. President, is what I believe we mean when we say Obamacare should be repealed and replaced simultaneously and concurrently. Thank the President.